Hi everyone, my name is Gigi Minsky. I'm a UCSB senior studying biology in the College of Creative Studies with an emphasis in bioengineering. I'm here today to talk about a very special effort coming from the UCSB campus. This effort is a course entitled Civics During the Pandemic, led by art professor Jane Mulfinger. The course is really a self organizing seminar for students from all disciplines and majors to come together based on their interests, whether it's medicine, mental health, arts and crafts, and figure out ways to remotely or in person give back during the pandemic. All in all, these efforts have been amazing to be a part of, and I really hope that this class continues even post pandemic because it's just a great way to give back to society and work together. Thanks.
It's just like a quick thing about know your rights. So because a lot of people lost income in their jobs and but rent is still due, unfortunately. So currently that they can defer their rent if they've been significantly impacted by COVID. And so there we have reasons for our local county that our ordinance has said that the people could defer rent is job loss, reduction of hours, need to miss work.
And what is life like right now?
Yeah, it's really different. It feels um just odd. I feel because I have all this free time, and I know that there's a lot of people that um are being like really adversely affected, and I have been super blessed to not have been yet.
I feel like your generation is so, I admire it so much um, because it seems like a collective thought of, you know, everybody needs to come together, everybody needs to work on things. And this was the case before this pandemic. So luckily, your generation was already kind of thinking in those terms.
Right.
And to me, I'm really grateful that I get to work with you guys.
I'm an art major here at UCSB. I've been organizing weekly, sometimes twice a week, art classes. We just had our first one last week. We had a potato printing class. And then this weekend, we're going to be having one girl, Tess, who also goes here, teach people how to make like Instagram mask filters. And on Sunday, we have another girl doing like a zine making class. The last month or so, we've been fostering animals from Santa Barbara, the Santa Barbara shelter, I think it's called. I know that they have a lot of dogs right now that they're trying to get into shelters. And I think it's like a mutually beneficial relationship because the dog gets to get out of the shelter and has space and has someone to walk it 2, 3 times a day. What I think is that this is day by day, and that there are days where you are totally fine and you do things that you love and you take this time to do things that make you happy. I think that it's a roller coaster, and some days will be better and some days will be awful. And I think it's about communicating with the people you're with and reaching out to your friends because chances are someone else is feeling the exact same way or they felt the same way a week ago, you know? So I think we can't control what's going to happen in the future. We have no idea what's going to happen. We have no idea, like even the greatest scientists in the world, like we cannot predict where this is going, but we can keep up with each other.
Just trying to find ways to make the world a better place, whatever way I can, even at home. Just spreading good vibes to people, even if it's not just community service, and just trying to make myself a better person since I have so much more time on my hands. Even though, like, right now, everything seems hard and at times hopeless, there are still people who have hope for the future and will work even harder to make sure that you're okay and that their lives and your life matter.
What I've been working on for this class is specific with the food realm of things. And basically, I've been doing little projects where I either create videos or like infographics and really utilizing social media to get good information out there about food security and accessibility. Sending out little tips about food you can make and how to budget and things like that college students need more of. I'm hoping that the projects I'm doing now can be skills that students can continue carrying out. So, for example, posting new recipes on low budget items that students can make dishes from. I think that's something that can carry throughout the rest of their lives, even just being able to have those foundational skills to, do adulting right when it comes to food and cooking and things like that.
China has implemented a new policy that they restrict the airplane that can fly from America to China. Is only very few planes can fly, and it's hardly to get a ticket. And the earliest ticket has already been in October, if you can book online. And I heard that my friend in San Diego now, he can go back, and his dorm is he can only live in his dorm until the end of the fall instruction. So they don't have places to go. When I realized I can't go home, I feel isolated, I feel lonely, and I can't see my family and my friends in my own country. For this class, I have planned for making a game event that can gather all the people around, and I've done to deliver the foods to these people who don't have cars and drive them to markets. And I also help my friends to move their luggage to the storeroom.
I've been working on mostly mental health building with a circle of friends, also some relatives. We have a weekly Zoom session between just to share our feelings, to offer support with each other. But we also engaged in a lot of political debates. So we have administrators for each session. We each get to be an administrator for a weekly session. So if anything goes wrong, if we hear some heated debates or arguments, we'll say, okay, stop, everyone. This is only between us as friends, and we don't have to take it this far. Just the excitement that this pandemic will eventually pass, if you will call that excitement. I would say it's a wishful thinking. I think this pandemic has really facilitated online services, Zoom especially, and Gaucho Space. I've been frequently using it. I don't think I've opened this many pages ever since in my university life, and it's just really gotten everything online and more online communications.
I think right now, I think everything just feels a little more stressful, but I think it's kind of nice to have stuff to be busy with just school-wise. And I think most of my professors are doing as much as they can to make things feel normal. I think all of our discussions so far have been centered around modeling the coronavirus and figuring out why it's so much more contagious and so much more of an issue than SARS-CoV-1. So we've been developing, right now, just now, we're developing some models on infection rates and what the threshold for the population immunity will be, how many people will be infected for that threshold to be reached. So I think right now we're at a point where we're going to actually start doing some simulations and stuff in MATLAB and whatnot. So I think once I have graphs from that, I think it would be cool to show that and also compare it to other infectious diseases, because I think it's really interesting to know. It's for a few reasons. One of them has to do with just on a molecular level. It has, I don't remember the exact terminology for it, but it basically just binds more strongly to the receptors on on the surface of the cells that are in your lungs. And it's also just more infectious. So there's just like a quantity that a lot of researchers have defined to sort of determine like the infectiousness of a disease. And it just sort of has like a higher value for that than some other infectious diseases. I would like to think a lot of people will come out of this being a lot more mindful and grateful for like being able to do things. So I would like to think that once we're through the worst of it, things, we might just care about each other a little more, hopefully.
It's for sure weird because it just feels like everything's the same. Me and my brother are working and doing our own thing, and then my parents got laid off. So it's just like, it's been a struggle, but just them being at home and like trying to get used to. Yeah, I've been just trying to help others with their mental health and just like reach out to other people on social media, sending people resources that are going through a rough time right now, trying to keep myself and my friends and family busy just so like, just to distract ourselves because it's like, it's pretty tough right now. And then just bring groceries to like friends and family. That's it. I'm excited for just like the little things, I guess. Like every day I'm pretty excited to just have dinner with my family.
It's gonna be different for a little while, but in the best way possible, and that it's gonna be okay. I mean, I can't give an exact timeline as to when it will be starting to return back to what we knew as the normal, but I also think and I hope that I know some things won't be learned by certain people, but that some things will be learned by certain people, and we can go forth and make changes for our planet and ourselves from that.
It's terrible for me right now. I'm a Chinese international student, and like I'm very homesick right now. I've been supporting local restaurants and stuff. Like I've been ordering food from them. I don't know if that counts, but the thing is, I really don't cook. So every meal I order from a restaurant. I was thinking to just pick up trash in IB, to be honest. Well, at this point, it's very unrecognizable. It's very unfathomable because the coronavirus has changed the society a lot. I really don't know like when it's gonna be over, and there are a lot of social problems that haven't been done ever since this started.
Working on hosting a blood drive, and last week I just finalized a date with I'm working with Vitalant, which is a nonprofit organization that organizes blood drives, and we finalized it. And I anticipated it to be really difficult to find a location to host it because obviously everything's closed, a lot of public facilities, you couldn't really have it on campus. I was going to try to do it at a church, but open up a church, but I ended up being able to do it at Salvation Army on Hollister Ave. So that's going to be June 24th. I mean, I'm applying to med school in a few years, and so I'm just kind of excited to get onto that process because I guess I've been like pre-med and everything, and it's all been just very like a distant thing, but now it's actually becoming really real, which is super exciting, and I'm just happy that I've like made it through all this.
Also, I've been helping like a couple neighbors and some friends that I've known that are self-quarantined set up gardens. Besides that, I've also been, there's like this, someone linked it in a Slack chat about this, like basically like citizen science project where you can help digitize a botany collection of plants. And so like I've been doing a couple like, basically like just reading and like annotating like different notes down of plants so that it would be available for like on a digital library. And, like, so I've been doing that like periodically on the weekends. Besides those two things, for me, it's something that like I kind of miss doing, which I used like is that I'm interested in like being like I'm a chemical engineering major, and so for me like I love science. Like I want to be able to like present science in an intuitive manner to people because for some people like science can come off as scary or like kind kind of just like uninteresting. So when school dies down, like basically after this week, I hope to like start working on creating an online educational resources based off of like high school curriculums, and talk to some of my high school teachers about like making these resources available. I think this crisis has shown like a lot of people like problems with our system and like society, like how unprepared we are in a lot of ways for dealing with emergencies like this. And so like in terms of like a bigger picture idea, I hope that after this crisis, like whenever it takes like a year or so for it to like truly go back to normal, like hopefully I hope that people take a lot of lessons that they learned from this unique situation, and like it helps improve our society in the long run.
Like the hours just fly by and I don't know what's happening. It's really interesting dynamic. This class has really helped to provide this space of like thinking of how I can help communities, or like even like for my future career. I'm I'm a graduating senior and I don't really know what I want to do exactly, but I know it's going to be in some form of helping people. No matter like how big this pandemic is, like I know like I've contributed to help in some way, or help someone feel more comfortable, or just seeing that by one more person, like I would, that's what I want to do. So I think it's called like Save Lives organization, where we're like fixing masks, fixing like the elastic bands on the medical masks so they can use them in nursing homes. Or like I'm gonna try doing this calling hotline thing where you call certain people in the area and just check in on them and see how they're doing. But like there's never really gonna be like a normalcy like how it was before. So I don't know, just like trying to accept that. If someone was feeling anxious about the future, I would tell them take deep breaths, find 3 things in your surroundings that bring you joy. The future will happen when it happens, but we can't, like, all we can do right now is just like live in the moment. And it's like really hard for myself to do it too. And it's not an easy practice.
Life it's faster than I thought. I'll give it that. It's gone a lot faster than I thought. I remember thinking at the beginning of the quarter, like, oh my God, like this is gonna take a year to get through this quarter. But then every day I wake up and I'm like every day I'm just like, oh great, I have a place to live. I'm warm and I have food. And like that's where it ends. And in a sense, that's been pretty freeing, kind of, to not really feel like you have to do more. I've been trying to sew masks whenever I can, just for people around me, and then go to cottage hospital. I had about 30 go to the hospital here, and then also started making them for some friends, and then I just sent out another 20 something to my mom back home, because now that they've ran out of PPE, she actually started having to use the cloth ones that I made, because before I was making them kind of in advance. And the times finally come where they've ran out of N95s, where she actually has to so I make her the cloth ones with like a little pocket so she can like put more things to suffocate herself with. So she would wear like her surgical mask, and then she would wear the one that I made with like a piece of paper towel in it. And then she would go to work with that. So then once she started wearing it, her coworkers are like, where did you get that? So then
yeah, during quarantine, it's actually interesting because my life has changed a lot. Before quarantine, I just like consider myself like a normal, average 20-year-old. My hobbies included like just, going on social media a lot, and I just didn't really have a lot of goals. But in quarantine, there's a lot of time for like self-isolation and like really being alone with your thoughts. And the first few weeks were pretty tough for me. I just, struggled with not being able to go outside and not being able to, socialize with everyone and have something going on constantly. I started thinking to myself, like, there has to be more than something like this. It has to be like, I have to be able to, there has to be a way I could make the most out of this, time I have to myself. And so I started to really get into self-improvement. And now I find myself working out a lot. I've been cooking and baking, and I've been doing yoga a lot and like meditating. And I've just seen myself really just take a whole like 180 in terms of my life. And right now I'm doing Instacart, which is an online app that delivers groceries to people. I do that for about 4 hours a day, every day. And the best, time to do it is in the morning. So yeah, that's basically how my life is going right now. This whole pandemic really seems like it's going to really shape the future in a different way. In Korea and Japan, masks are really, really, really common. Like even before this whole pandemic, most people wear masks, and in the Western world, that's a lot more rare. And I feel like nowadays, like even after the pandemic, even after there's a vaccine, I feel like people are going to be wearing masks a lot more often. It's going to be a little bit more common to see that. I mean, we've been like the world has been through countless of terrible pandemics before, and we're still, as a human race, we're still, advancing. We're still here. So, yeah, it's scary in the moment, but definitely, we're gonna get through it, and we're gonna do it together.
It's for me right now, it's really like maintaining relationships, community building, staying in touch with who I can stay in touch with. And also I've been trying to get engaged with a lot of the Zoom opportunities available, whether that's through the Career Center, with a few other clubs on campus, just really trying to take advantage of UCSB resources while I still can. I just joined, actually very recently, as of a week, I just joined this club called Eco Vista. And I'm going to be working for their magazine. So it's a, eco-friendly, eco-conscious magazine that talks about a lot of the ecological issues and stories and problems that we face here in Isla Vista, especially during the times of the coronavirus. So I'm going to be working on that, which I'm really excited to do. And I've been attending a few workshops because I'm a career peer at the UCSB Career Services. So I've been attending workshops that we've been hosting. Yeah, it's more, I think when I think about results, I always think about like these tangible external things. But for me right now, it seems to be more of an internal satisfaction and this, inner peace and that I have found in this time that's so turbulent and so difficult to find peace and stability in. For me, it's really just, obviously we can't continue with life as it always has been. So by doing these activities and engaging in these civic projects, I've really been able to find some zen. I'm trying to be really hopeful. It's hard. Obviously, I foresee, restrictions being loosened and California specifically starting to open up things. I know Gavin Newsom's been talking to the governors of Oregon and Washington, and they're working on this, Western regional plan to slowly start opening things up. So that's always great to see, as long as they're keeping, public health and safety as number one and everything driven by science and data. I wholeheartedly believe that and love the path that we're going on.
I would say it's just been a lot of adjusting and trying to figure out how to care for myself, like emotionally, physically, like mentally during this time. That's like the main thing. Like when we first went into quarantine, because I have roommates and it's all of our senior year, so we were getting ready to graduate. I know like we first were trying to like have fun, like literally the first like 2 weeks, and then it got very old and it was not fun at all at one point. So I feel like now I just try to take away time like in the morning, like I will meditate And also like reading is really helpful. Reading stuff other than my like school material. I've also been like FaceTiming my friends from back home. We've been doing kind of like exercise challenges and stuff like that with each other. So those are pretty much like the main things. All like it's just going to be like a lot of getting used to, and I honestly don't know what to expect. I just kind of want to be like willing to adjust.
So like for my family, I've been kind of going grocery shopping for them because both my parents like work still, so they don't have the time to go like grocery shopping. And like my grandparents, since they're like at higher risk, I've been going grocery shopping for them as well. And they live in like downtown LA, so like I kind of like drive over there to do that for them. And then I've been trying to start the tutoring thing where a really close friend, a family friend of mine actually like runs like a tutoring academy. So she is really struggling because I guess she's like the only one kind of overseeing everything with all the students that she has. So yeah, I'm trying to help her out. Just like the fact that I'm able to stay home, or like not able to, but kind of like I'm being forced to stay home. I'm like, I have a lot of time to myself, I guess. It's like a lot of reflecting on like what I have been doing in the past when like life was normal and how it's different now and how like what worked for me and what didn't. I feel like I have a lot of time to reflect on things that really matter to me. I've always been someone that has been super anxious about my future, and like I often think about my future more than I think about the present. But I think like as I'm thinking back about my life, like nothing really good, or like everything kind of works out in the end, and like nothing comes from, although it's like inevitable about like worrying and being anxious about like the future, like I feel like nothing good comes from like dwelling on that and like focusing and putting all your energy about that anxiety, and rather focusing on like what you can do to better like the right now kind of thing.
So this has become a family project. It's mostly me, and I have two younger siblings. And we, saw in a news article a while back a kid in some other state who was also 3D printing ear savers. And we're like, wow, that's a great idea. We have these 3D printers that are sitting in our garage. We should, band together and find a way to also help the community around us. So we've been, slowly printing these ear savers. We've been able to print probably like 300 at this point. So ear savers are basically little hooks that help take the pressure of ear masks off your ears. So the elastics that go behind your ears, the hooks actually are meant to go on the back of your head, and you're able to attach the elastic to the hook itself rather than on your ear. She's been, helping us. I have a couple aunts who actually work as nurses, one in Southern California, one in Northern California, and we've been distributing them. And then recently with the new quarantine lift, how things are starting to open back up, I have an uncle who's working at a restaurant, and he was concerned, just with everything opening back up, how his business would run. So he requested ear savers as well for his employees. In general, if we're focusing on disease has always been a part of humanity. It's helped shape us and build us from the very beginning. And so even though right now this is something that's kind of new to us, it's not something that humanity as a whole hasn't dealt with, and will always continue to grow as a body of people, and in adverse times we'll find ways to overcome.
She's in a playful mood right now. Well, for this class, I've been trying to find creative and innovative ideas to help out during this time, which I guess the best thing everyone can do right now is just stay home. But with that comes a lot of free time and a lot of worry about the communities around us, especially those who are more vulnerable and susceptible to the disadvantages that they already face in society. So just being able, this class is trying to find solutions, or not solutions, but just like little things to help those people – or anyone really who's suffering during this time. Well, some uplifting things that we've been doing in our community is like making signs for our local businesses and hanging them up on the restaurants or whatever shops that sorry, the puppy's running away. I've been making some signs for that. And I've been working on some thank you letters to service workers. I want to send them to the hospitals. So hopefully I'll be in Chile, which is where I was planning on going in a year from now, and learning some Spanish. If you just worry about the future, you're going to miss out on the moment. And a lot of times what happens is you spend so much time worrying about the future, you miss out on all the beauty in front of you, and things just, they work out or they don't, and you find a way to deal with it. So just kind of take it day by day.
I joined this class in the hopes of connecting more with the UCSB community, and it was really amazing to find a group of students who were dedicated to doing civic good in this time where it can be really hard to focus on people other than yourself and work on improving situations other than your own. I worked on a few projects for this class. My first was more artistic. I worked on collecting works of writing and poetry that I thought applied to the sort of social consciousness at this time. And I did some illustrations for them and compiled that. And then I also started to work in voter accessibility. So I created a poster encouraging people to register to vote by mail. And then California later passed a policy making sure that every registered voter is going to have a vote by mail ballot, which was really exciting. And because of that work, I got involved with an organization called Vote Forward. So I spent a few hours every week writing letters to people who are registered to vote but haven't voted in the past few elections.
During civics in the time of pandemic, I have created a fundraiser to assist veterans for the hardships that come due to the circumstances of pandemic. They have housing crisis, food crisis, clothing crisis, everything crisis, and of course, social crisis. And so I put together a fundraiser where we could get money out to the VFW Riders, the American Legion, and VA Clothing. And so it was during this class that I put the fundraiser together, initiated it, and posted it, basically published it. And so to this date, I believe we're now at $1,000 that's in the mailbox at American Legion, Post 817 in Panorama City. So my grandfather passed away in 2012, and at that point, I had received a message, which was basically his message, which was to return back to school. So that I did, and it's been working out. Everything's kind of now coming to me that didn't come to me in the past. The future looks pretty bright and sunny, I would say, because you know the force of the good is what always prevails.
The thing that I've mainly been doing is trying to like provide for kids that are stuck at home. So I've been dressing up as different princesses since like that's what I can do at home, and going on live and stuff, and they can interact and ask me questions, and I answer their questions, give them birthday shout outs because a lot of them are having birthdays here. I did a drive-by birthday where I dressed up as Moana and waved out the car. In Santa Barbara, I work for a princess party company, but we can't have parties, and I have all of the costumes, so might as well get dressed up, and I have all of the stuff, so I was able to do that for a lot of people. The future looks like it's going to change, but I feel like during these times, a lot of students like this class, people have been really resourceful and trying to help out where they can. So I really think this time alone has really strengthened people's minds and bodies and spirits, and they're able to really put forth effort into something that's meaningful because we have so much time now. So I think in the future, people will be able to soak in the moment and really think through their steps in what they're doing and be more impactful?
I'm actually not performing. I'm going to be premiering my composition called Echoing Dreams on June 2nd. And this piece is a piano quintet. Actually, my sister's practicing her piece right now. So currently I have a Bach piece in my head.
Excellent. That was great.
I don't sing, I play piano.
That was great.
Personally, music plays a huge role in this time during the pandemic. And I think specifically that during this time we should be looking for new ways to reach out to people and figure out how to connect with people in a way that we're not used to.
I've spent my time helping with, elections now that it's gone remote. And then apart from that, I've also worked with the Global Gotcha Commission to create a survey that would best help support the international student community. I just want to say that I feel like the work that I've seen like our classmates do and everything, and like all the projects that people were working on. I know I helped with the Spanish translation for the student who was doing the vote by mail project. And so just seeing all of the initiatives that the students have been doing, I feel like it's really cool. And just knowing that people's minds are just always working and like always interested in like getting involved with the community. And so I don't know, I think I've just been more inspired to continue like working hard and trying to, like